Well, happy Sunday, everybody. Sunday evening here for me. I did actually have to work today, but we get to start the work week tomorrow. Anyway, I am a psychic medium, and if you've listened to my podcast before, I kind of mix up a lot of different genres, if you will, metaphysical, spiritual, scientific, kind of squeeze it all together. Try to make sense of things, or at least talk about some things to try to work out other ways of looking at these things. And I don't really do any scripted things, because what I find is when I do scripted things, it sounds really strange. But I am back to my old favorite subject, it seems, that keeps finding me. And we've talked about why that is in many of my other videos, but once you get kind of something embedded into your normal thinking pattern throughout the day, it tends to continue to show up even more, because that's what your perception is dialed into. Well, apparently my perception is dialed into what this reality is, and perhaps trying to figure it out a little bit easier or better. But I keep running into the whole theory of this being a simulation, or a holographic universe, if you will. Video after video I watched today on TikTok. So I had it was kind of a boring day at work for a change, and so I didn't want to do anything like this, because there's people at work and can't really do it. And so anyway, I found myself scrolling through TikTok, and just like video after video after video kept talking about these things. And as much as I want to quit talking about the double slit experiment, it keeps coming up as well. And the double slit experiment, in summary, is an experiment that demonstrates that if you fire electrons through a couple of slits at a wall behind it, without observing it, they'll just recreate the pattern on that back wall that the slits look like. But when there's an observer of any kind, human, animal, camera, or anything, they tend to, on the other side, break down into waves of possibility. So the whole back wall becomes splashed with electrons. And then this is kind of the basis, or the beginnings of the idea of quantum theory, quantum mechanics, quantum physics, all those things, where we're looking at different dimensions and different ideas about our reality, and really breaking it down, and then going to look for the evidence for these theories, these ideas, through places like the Large Collider over in Switzerland, that CERN has operating. And they're trying to validate some of the things that they are finding, or at least theorizing. And once again, we are looking at trying to prove our reality, our existence, through math and equations and all these different things, just like Copernicus did, way back in, I think, the 1700s, if not mistaken. Don't quote me on that, but long ago, before there was any way to ever go up in the sky, or go above and look, or to even do a lot of the things we do now to prove any of that, or try to prove it. Let me say that again, try to prove it. And we just adopted the fact that this is a globe, Earth, and it's spinning around the sun along with all the other planets, and everything's spinning and spinning and spinning, but stars never change anyway. But anyway, we have continued to use this globe Earth model, whether it's true or not. And I don't know if that any of us coming in will ever find that out. So I guess I am a little bit on my soapbox here. And I hope you guys will forgive me on that. But I just keep getting this pulled back into this idea that we live in a simulation. Controlled by someone else. It could be God, it could be like in the Matrix movie, an architect. To me, I think it helps prove that there is a creator, versus this being what most people think it is through religion, things like that. I don't know. I mean, there's no way to prove any of this, and basically this is just a conversation, looking at ideas, looking at different things that other people say, definitions, things like that. One of the things that has been coming up over and over and over today, something that I've seen before, but it just keeps showing up. So I assume that means I need to talk about it. It's usually my sign that my intuition is pinging from the other side, if you will, through my spirit guide. Primarily is where my information comes through. But anyway, outside of myself, so what's coming up is error correction codes. So error correcting codes, I will read the definition that I found on the internet. And so this has to do with computers. Error correcting codes are a form of computer code that check for and correct errors that occur in the physical processing of computers. And it goes on to say that some physicists have found that existence or evidence of error correcting codes in the equations of supersymmetry that describe fundamental particles. In other words, the fabric of space and time. So some very, very high-level scientists and theorists are finding not just something that resembles error-correcting codes in their research and their theories and what they're trying to achieve by describing or looking at the depths of space and time. They are finding the exact same error correcting codes that we use in our computers today. And I'm going to play a little bit a clip of I can't think of the name of the scientist, but I will post in the description of this podcast the video where I actually pulled this from, and it's all over the place. Oh, I'm sorry, his name is Jim Gates. There it is. He is a part. I'm not even going to guess at what his title is, but he's been doing this kind of work for a very, very long time. So the idea behind error correcting codes with our computers is, and you'll hear him explain it, I'm just going to summarize. As we use our computer and we are transmitting things to other places from our computer over the internet, or through the Wi-Fi, or through Bluetooth, or through cell signal, or whatever, the transmission of those ones and zeros and those patterns of ones and zeros in the data we're sending can sometimes become scrambled or mixed up or messed up, so that at the receiving end they're not exactly what it is that you started with the transmission. And so your computer uses a way of correcting that or making sure that it stays like it should. I'll let him explain it a little bit better, but adding more ones and zeros. Anyway, what it does is it ensures that the transmission of the original source remains the same as it was when you put it together. So it's interesting that I chose the word source. A lot of people look at the word source or use the word source in the metaphysical world, the spiritual world, as another name for what most religions would call God or a God by many different names. And wouldn't that be interesting if what we're really seeing is this reality is actually being maintained through error correcting codes from the original source to ensure that it doesn't become distorted. That one kind of blew my mind there for a second. This kind of came up as I was talking, and it's not something I thought about before. The error correcting codes in the fabric of space and time that they are honestly still trying to prove through things like CERN and other high-end scientific experiments, devices, And they may have by now. I don't know how old these videos are. I've seen this particular clip many times. I think this one was from 5 years ago. A lot can happen in 5 years in our IT world. So I want to go ahead and play a few minutes of this YouTube clip so that you can hear it from someone else, from the man. And then we'll come back around and we'll talk some more about this.
Well, partly it's taken to these very strange images that are behind your head right now. These are pictures of equations. I've been, for the last 15 years, trying to answer the kinds of questions that my colleagues have been raising. And what I've come to understand is that there are these incredible pictures that contain all the information of a set of equations that are related to string theory. And it's even more bizarre than that, because when you then try to understand these pictures, you find out that buried in them are computer codes just like the type that you find in a browser when you go surf the web. And so I'm left with the puzzle of trying to figure out whether I live in the matrix or not.
Wait, you're blowing my mind at this moment. So you're saying, are you saying your attempt to understand the fundamental operations of nature leads you to a set of equations that are indistinguishable from the equations that drive search engines and browsers on our computers?
That is correct. So
wait, I have to just be silent for a minute here. So you're saying as you dig deeper, you find computer code writ in the fabric of the cosmos?
Into the equations that we want to use to describe the cosmos, yes.
Computer code?
Computer code, strings of bits of ones and zeros.
It's not just sort of resembles computer code, you're saying it is computer code.
It's not even just is computer code, it's a special kind of computer code that was invented by a scientist named Claude Shannon in the 1940s. That's what we find very, very deeply inside the equations that occur in string theory and in general in systems that we can say are supersymmetric.
Okay. Time to go home, I think. I mean, where are we going to go? So are you saying we are all just, there's some entity that programs?
They dictate that there are certain things that are actually strings of ones and zeros. That's just digital data. But it's not just random ones and zeros. As I mentioned earlier, let me talk about something that you probably do every day, but I don't know if you're a computer scientist or not. Most of us sit at our...
Sounds that kind of fluency, I said.
Okay, well, most of us sit at our computer screens and we type on the keyboards, and we then send these, if we're using a browser, we're sending strings of ones and zeros elsewhere. But on the other hand, in the transmission process, there's always some fluctuations. So 0 that you type here because of static in line might be read as a 1 at the other end and vice versa. And so in fact, when you sit and type on the keyboard, your computer's doing something behind your back. Namely, it throws in a bunch of extra ones and zeros, and these things are called error correcting codes, so that the computer at the other end can look at the whole collection of what you typed plus what was sent and figure out if there were bits that were being flipped back and forth. And that's how you get accurate transmission of digital data. Among the codes that are used for this purpose are a special class of codes that are called block linear self-dual error correcting codes. They were first, in fact, the Shannon extended checksum code is an example of one of these things. These are the codes that we find buried in the equations. Not just any code, but these self-dual error correcting block codes. It's quite remarkable for anyone that I've talked to. We have no idea what these things are doing there.
As you can hear, this is a very interesting set of conversations between some very high-level scientists. So these are not just your everyday, science teachers in high school or anything like that. Not that they're not competent for this level, they may be. What I'm saying is the people that are really some of the best have been talking about this for quite a while. And they're really, really trying to dig into what this reality actually is made of, what it actually is. And it's crazy to think that we may just simply be living in a simulation. And a lot of people would say that the movie The Matrix or the Matrix series is really a documentary. I've heard that from a lot of high-end people as well. That it's not actually fiction. You hear that from high-level people like Bruce Lipton, who has studied the nature of cells, how that you can speak to them and you can actually get them to react, and they do listen, all these things. He's got a really good book called The Biology of Belief. He says the same thing. I'm not saying any of these things I'm offering up are truth. What I'm saying is I think that we are nearing a time in our human development and our advancement of technology where we are able to peer into the smallest of depths of this reality, this existence. And I know that they've dug in so far that they can see, quote unquote, see that our cells are really empty space primarily, are simply possibilities, sort of like the double slit experiment. Waves of probability, waiting for direction, waiting for attention, waiting for somebody to give it an order or orders. And if cells are really as empty as they say they are, like I think it's like 99% basically empty space, we are really kind of nothing. Think about it. Everything that we think is solid, everything that we think is us, every system within our body, every hormone, every system, everything about us might simply just be very little, if any matter whatsoever. We might just be a very high-level biological holograph, which is something that I've been shown in some of my meditation journeys. Yes, this is more of something that's simulated, and we get reused over and over again, sort of like reincarnation. Once again, not offering this as proof, but when I get things through meditation journeys to the depths of that type of information, and then I see somebody or hear somebody talk about it, it really begins to really ring true for me, at least, that what I'm seeing and observing and witnessing science and technology discover is something that I've seen in my own journeys. And that really hits home. It doesn't scare me, to be honest. It doesn't matter what this reality is. I mean, let's just face it, it doesn't really matter. Because it doesn't change the fact that we have to eat, we have to work, we have to get to work, we need to have clothes, we need to have a home, we got to feed our children, we need to be educated. All those things doesn't really change. I think us as humans, we just want to know. We are designed by whomever, however, to be curious beings. We want to know, we want to know, we want to know. And I'm speaking for myself. I'm not saying that's bad. I want to know. I want to know everything that I could possibly know about this. I should say, knowing is a different thing. What I like to see or experience is as much what most people would call evidence as possible. That will help me justify some of the things I believe in and that others believe in. Apparently a lot of people are believing in more and more in a simulation. It is not really that far-fetched nowadays. When I grew up in the 60s and the 70s, we didn't have any technology, or barely any. I remember when the first television, or the early televisions were coming out, very few people had them in their houses. I remember when my father brought one home, and we thought we were just the richest family on the block. Old black and white, VHF, UHF, click, 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 no remote, rabbit ears, the whole 9 yards. to nowadays, we can simulate things to such a level that it's very difficult to ever tell what is real and what is not. And many people have been tearing apart a lot of the videos and information that agencies like NASA puts out, and the original moon or the space program taking humans to the moon. Whether did it really happen, or was that really just something that was created in a theater? But the level that we have now is amazing. It's very difficult, very, very difficult to tell what is real when you see it on a screen of any type, your phone, your computer, your TV, any of that. Matter of fact, I was just watching a video about, I think it was the Japanese, I want to say, were supposedly taking pictures from the moon on a private company lander that was supposedly sitting on the moon, looking back at the Earth during the eclipse, and was showing this dark spot on the Earth where the eclipse was casting a shadow. Not saying that's not real, but man, it looked so graphically created. It was, I just couldn't get out of my mind that the Earth 230,000 miles away would look like a blue marble and not a shiny object like our moon does, reflecting the sun's light. But anyway, I'll digress. But you get my point. It is so easy to fool the public nowadays into believing all kinds of things. We're being programmed all the time. And if we are part of a simulation, you would think it'd be even easier, way easier to fool the public. Wouldn't be hard at all. And you can run any script you want. I mean, I've been watching all the news lately of all the wars and all the different things, and you wonder sometimes, I'm not saying it's not happening, but sometimes it flashes in my mind, is this stuff really happening out there, or is this something that's just being played out on a screen? Are all these things really happening? Is anything around me actually happening, or is this just something that's put together through technology by some external entity, if you will, or person or thing, or maybe it's another AI program that's running us? Simulations are a very interesting thought. To be honest, I think if we were or are a simulation, I think that would make people much more of a believer in a creator than some figment of an invisible God sitting up in heaven on a cloud or a throne or something like that. I think if somebody could, or some people or some group, however, could solidly and convincingly show us that we are actually living in a computer simulated reality, I don't think it'd be far-fetched for us to actually believe in a creator, because we, as high-tech humans nowadays, high-tech civilizations, we already accept the fact that I could sit, or anybody could sit behind a computer and create. I could create a simulation. I'm creating a video right now. I'm sorry, a audio track. It seems like such common ideas, but the magic and the science that goes behind me speaking into this microphone, traveling through cords into this complicated integrated circuitry board on this laptop that I'm using, and showing me on the screen what it looks like in patterns, is, to be honest, simply amazing. Yet we take it for granted. So if we are a simulated reality, I believe that it would make many more people believe in a higher being, an architect, a creator. And I think it would actually be I think it would help people to really do the right thing more often. Because like I said, if you're being taught and convinced to believe in an entity that you've never seen, can't see, that sits outside of our ability to interact with this entity, call it God, call it Allah, call it whatever, I don't think people really take that as serious as, at least these days, as they did in the past. In the past, that's all they could hang their hat on. That's all they could hang their belief on. But now, our technology is our God. And if we really are in a simulation, then we have a God behind this, the technology, the simulation. I think that we really, in a lot of ways, would serve humanity better knowing that there really is someone or something looking in, watching us, perhaps judging us, to see if we are doing the right thing well enough to move on to a new level. Think about a game, right? Perhaps we are repeating lives over and over as a character and leveling up, winning items, winning things, graduating from one level, moving to another. Wouldn't that be something, right? Wow. To be in a game, I mean, we see it in movies all the time, like Wreck-It Ralph, who, doesn't know he lives inside of a video game, and he finds out he does, but in the end, he finds that it's okay, because his role, I'm trying to remember, it's been a while, but in his role, he's actually helping people, helping kids, helping children to have a good time and to do whatever. He's okay with his role. But I will kind of wind down on this. It seems that I have been given many, many opportunities to research and relook at this idea of a simulation and the holographic universe and how that works and how much more relevant that could possibly be. And we will find out one day, I hope. That's the idea, that when we leave this meat suit, that we will be shown and be granted the opportunity to know what's really going on. And for all I know, we could just be simply dreaming, we're part of somebody's dream that's been sleeping. I mean, there's just so many ideas. Anyway, I challenge you guys to really dig in and do your own research. This is just my ideas, things that I'm finding, things that I've been exposed to for a while. I'm not telling you what to believe. I'm not trying to convince you of anything. That's not my goal. I'm just trying to challenge you to look at new information, to really dig in, because we are in an information age. Why not? Look at everything, because nothing is hidden. It's all in plain sight. You can find it. You just have to be diligent to find it. It's there. Do yourself a favor when you have some time. Look at these things and, see for yourself what kind of things you find. And I would really honestly like to know what you guys think about this. I say this on every podcast, but I don't really have a lot of people reaching out to comment or to send me an email or a message about how they feel about it or what they found, so we can collaborate. It would be really cool. You can find my contact information on my website at lifebymazak.com, lifebymazak.com. Once again, I'd really love to hear from you. You will be hearing from me again. When I do these podcasts all the time, and the subject changes here and there. And I can't wait till my spirit guide and the universe at large lets me know what the next thing is that I need to talk to you guys about. I will talk to you soon. Stay strong and live your life.